Welcome to our first episode of Disorderly Detours. We are going to try to stay on track and work on speaking for less than 30 minutes, and we'll see how that goes. I'm Tiah.
I'm Jaimie.
And Ryan's not here.
Ryan, our dear Ryan, wants to read so much, and he simply does not have time.
Correct.
So he will not be joining us for these little detours.
However, if he wants to, hint, hint, he's more than welcome to.
Anytime.
But we will, at the end of each episode, review what I called Ryan's Rapidfire recommendations. So you will hear from Ryan.
Ryan speaking through us.
Yes. Okay, so for this one, I had a really hard time picking books. Shocking, I know. So I've decided that I'm going to contribute a nonfiction book and a fiction book, at least, that are more related to current events happening. But I have 3 books, so my bad. So my nonfiction book that I am recommending is Except for Palestine by Marc Lamont Hill. This is a good option for finding out the history of everything going on in the world right now in relation to Palestine and Israel, but also getting the side of American and also other countries' contributions. So you get to see kind of the hypocrisy. Highly recommend. It might also piss you off, so just be prepared for that.
Yeah.
And then the fiction book that I decided to go with today was Salt Houses by Hala, Alyan. I'm apologizing if I said that wrong. But this one is a fiction piece based in the experiences of a family. So it's, again, another multi-generational. And if you've listened to us, you know those are my favorite books, apparently, because I always pick the multi-generational ones.
Correct.
It also is one that I recommend because I like really heartbreaking multi-generational stories. So do be prepared to have your heart ripped out. But it's so beautifully told, and you get to see the perspective from so many different members of the family, and then you slowly get to put details together.
Is it Palestine as well?
Yes.
Okay.
It is Palestine related.
I'm literally writing down your recommendations right now, and I will be listening to it.
I got to the end of this one, and I was at work, and I had to stop and just be like really sad for a hot minute, and I had coworkers be like, "Are you okay?" No, I wasn't.
No, I'm not.
I was not okay. It's so hard to tell you like how beautifully written it was. Just go find out. Yeah, go find out. And then the third book that I did want to recommend is one that I'm actively still reading, so I have not completed this one. It's called Living Resistance by Kaitlin Curtice. Yeah. I'll write these down and send them in our little information below. But this one is also a nonfiction book, and it's about trying to promote your own personal resistance by like adjusting your perspective on how the world operates through your own lifestyle choices. So far, I'm really enjoying it. It's got some interesting perspectives because the author is Native, but also was raised evangelical Christian. So she's got some really like big battles that she goes through and describes. So I found it to be like just very interesting to hear about because she has so many extreme sides to really talk about.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like learning to come to terms with what it's like to actually have like a spiritual experience and have to unlearn the church, essentially. I'm e-booking this one. I do think it would be wise to get this one as a physical book because there are elements in it where it's like, oh, here's a prompt to like help you learn and think about it. So I do want to journal about it later, but right now I'm just trying to get through the information just to start processing it because I can't read a book once and remember the details. That's
correct.
Nonsense.
No.
I'm going to let Jaimie talk about her recommendations.
Sure. One thing that you have to know about me is I do listen to a crap ton of books. I am doing my own personal map around the world, and I've got 81 countries right now.
Nice.
I'm currently listening to a memoir by a woman who, when she was 50 years old, was kidnapped and human trafficked from Namibia.
Oh, okay.
And so I try not to do too many, like, I'm a victim of war in Africa stories.
Sure.
But sometimes that's the one that comes up.
Yeah.
I like doing fiction from Africa. Even if it is war-based, it's like, I like seeing your art.
Yeah.
You know, and this is really good. This is called I Am Not Your Slave. Tragic, obviously.
Yeah.
So I am still doing my own personal map, but that's not the one that I was going to talk about.
Oh.
My plan for this is going to be one book that I've recently read to fill out my map and one thriller, if there is a thriller worth talking about, which
Sure.
currently I do have. Oh my gosh. And also Womb City. It's an Afro sci-fi.
Oh, yeah. They have some
Oh
of
my
the
God.
some of the best sci-fi stuff that I have read has come out of different African authors, and I'm like, y'all have some creativity. I
Yeah.
cannot.
Absolutely. It's I got to see what country this is for, because I 100% recommend Womb City. It's for Botswana, and it takes
Okay.
place in future Botswana. Incredible. So fascinating. But the one that I was planning on talking about, sorry, we read so many books,
Yeah.
is The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco.
Okay.
And this is for Italy.
oh,
And this is a book. When was it even
actually,
written?
the name makes
is
a
like-
lot of sense that you said that.
Yes. It was published in 1994. I don't know why. I was obsessed with this book when I was listening to it. I don't know why. It's crazy. It was written in 1994 by this Italian man that takes place in a monastery, an
Oh.
Italian monastery
Okay.
in 1327. So you have this brother who shows up to this monastery, and he is very smart. He is like the smartest person ever. And he like walks in and it's very Sherlock Holmesian, where like he's making all of these deductions that do end up to be correct. And it's a 21-hour audiobook.
Oh, like I never know where you're going next.
No, it's a 21-hour audiobook that is these Franciscan monks solving crimes. And then like people start dying one by one.
Of course.
And
naturally.
and the main guy is he was an inquisitor, you know, so like he knew how to do all of the interrogations and stuff and the investigations, but he also quit the Inquisition because he was too human about it. So he like has this human touch. I was just like blown away. This is like a 30-year-old book, and I was like, I'm obsessed. I could not stop thinking about it. And it's written so interesting, and it's from the perspective of his not a squire, what is he? Monk equivalent is. He's just like a brother who is his servant, basically.
Oh, sure.
Who goes around with him. And it's told from his perspective. So he is seeing, and they're investigating the monastery library in the middle of the night. And it's a maze, like a literal maze. And there's like a blind brother who knows everything. And I don't know why, but I was obsessed with this. So if you can sit down and think about a book for 21 hours and just know that it's just a murder mystery, totally recommend it.
Fascinating.
I have no clue why. I was like an hour into it and I was like, okay. And then like 2 hours in, I was like, this is my life now. I was like, I had to, usually I'll pause a book. And even if I'm like close to the end, I'll pause a book if I have to go in and work at the shop. No, I like told whoever I was working with, I was like, I have to finish this book. I have to know what happens.
I adore that.
Super random. Totally recommend.
So is that your map?
That's the map book.
Okay.
The Name of the
Italy?
Rose, Umberto Eco.
Okay.
It is for Italy. It was written in 1994. It takes place in 1327. I don't know. I don't even know if I should be recommending this because I don't know if it's for anybody but me, but I had just the best time.
I am curious now.
So much fun. So much fun. If you listen to it and you hate it, I'm sorry.
Whatever.
But I'm having a great time. Then the other book, I listen to a lot of thrillers because I have to be listening to a book. I just have to. It's got to happen. So I always have a book going. And usually I like to go back and forth. If I have pretty heavy books that I'm reading for my map or just general, like I listened to I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy.
Oh, God,
so that's not for a map, but that is heavy. So I had to do like a thriller sandwich there, like a thriller before, then that one, then a thriller after, just to kind of these light, fluffy, like I can solve this crime sort of ones. So I just grabbed one. All I do is if I need a fluff book, I just go to Libby and I click audiobooks and I click available and I click thriller and I just go down and I find one from an author that I like. So Gillian MacAllister, Wrong Place, Wrong Time popped up. And I was like, okay, sure, I like Gillian MacAllister and I like random fluff books. But this was told in such an interesting way. So the main character, you start on, I think it's like October 31st, it's Halloween. She's like waiting for her son to come home from his girlfriend's house. And then she sees him outside, but he's like in an altercation with some guy. So she runs outside, and at the time she gets downstairs, her son stabbed this guy. And she's like, what the hell? She doesn't know who the guy is that stabbed him. She didn't even know her son had a knife. And they go down to he gets arrested because he's old enough to be arrested, and he just stabbed and murdered a guy. So they all go down to the station, and she panics. And then when she gets up the next morning, she's like, okay, I got to figure out how to get my son out of jail, blah, blah, blah. And then her son is in his bedroom. And she's like, what? How did you get out of the station? He's like, what are you talking about? She looks at the clock. It is October 30th. It is the day before. So she's like, okay, I'm clearly going insane. Whatever. So she tries to go through the day, but she's like having she feels like she's doing deja vu because she literally already lived this day. Mm-hmm. And then she wakes up the following day and it's the 29th. And the entirety of this book, she is going backwards in time because one of these days she finds the knife in her son's bag. So then she starts investigating. And then instead of going back one day at a time, it starts jumping. So then it's like minus 12 days. And then it's minus 50 days. And then it's minus 500 and some days. So we go back a year and a half. And she slowly is solving the crime before it happens, because every day that she goes back to is relevant. And she has to live the day but figure out what is important about today that will solve the crime. And she ends up going back 20 years before her son is even born. And what I love this because I love time travel.
Yes.
I love the concept of time travel. And what I love is rules.
Yeah,
I hate here's the thing. I love Doctor Who. I'm throwing out everything that I'm saying right now does not apply to Doctor Who because Doctor Who is just bullshit. Love it, but it doesn't have rules. And that's whatever.
Its rule is to not have rules.
Its rule is just do what's ever fun. And you know what? That's fine. You get a pass from me. But I love rules that are I love when things change. So I don't want to spoil this just on the off chance that someone does read it, but there are consequences for things that happen. And things that she changes change the future. She can't just go back to the future after having done stuff. And I was just drinking it all up. I was like, yes, I love this. I love the time travel. And she's like, she contacts someone who is an expert in this. And she's like, an expert in the theory of time travel.
Right, okay.
And he's never actually met a real time traveler. He just talks about the potential for it. Mm-hmm. But then she starts telling him things that are going to happen that she can't know about. And he's like, okay.
Hold on.
Okay, so now I have to think about the fact that this is real.
Right.
And he starts like applying everything that he knows to help her. But she has to do this every time that they meet because they've never met before.
Right.
And they meet on like 3 separate occasions during the time. And every time she has to be like, yep, I know. And this, and you believe me now? Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
It's
How frustrating.
chef's kiss. And it's just a dumb little thriller book. But I was really interested in it.
Yeah.
They both happen to be mysteries, but
That's still, they have such different.
so different.
Yeah.
And just wild. Anyway, if you're looking for a thriller book, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, Gillian MacAllister, totally recommend. That one was only like 10 hours audiobook.
Okay, so a more standard.
Yes,
Yeah.
way more reasonable. 21 is kind of pushing it.
That's a lot.
It was a lot, and I had so much fun the entire time.
I want to say my books are significantly smaller.
Most books I listen to are like 11 plus hours.
I will say most of my books are also
But
about
not
that
not usually. I mean, 17 hours I have done and haven't really thought much of. Once it gets to like 19 or 20 is when I'm like, okay, so I'm doing this. I don't know what made me look at 21 hours and just go like,
All
yeah,
right.
whatever. I don't know anything about this book.
Yeah, this is a good idea. Let's keep going.
And you know
Actually,
what? It was a good idea.
I think there was one time that I saw a book that long and I immediately said, no, we're skipping that one for a hot minute. But
I listened to, okay, there were a few that I
Okay.
listened to a couple months ago, like right around the same time as each other because I'm insane, apparently.
yeah.
One was 25 hours and I hated it. It was so bad. And then one was 21 hours and it was fine after about 16 hours. Yeah, I know. And I listened to both of them the entire time.
Mad respect to you.
Yeah,
for
because
that.
there's something wrong with my brain. It's the lesions, probably.
It's the lesions. Okay, so the nonfiction book, except for Palestine, is only about 6 hours. So if you need a quick,
Sick. Love
like,
that.
hey, by the way, this is what's going on. And then the Salt Houses one is about 12 hours. So bit longer, not really the most bite-sized book, but it is so worth it.
Yeah, that one for sure is on my list.
It's really a beautiful story. Really gets you to be sad.
Great.
So do give yourself a thriller to back it up.
Done.
And then the Living Resistance one, I think it's like 480 pages total.
Okay.
So it's like
Not nothing.
not nothing, but it's also not the like you don't have to do like read it all at once. You can definitely there's like really tiny chapters and you can get through them and just like be like, perspective on these. They like one of them is about how taking care of children in your community is resistance and
Yeah.
doing artwork is resistance and like all kinds of different stuff. So you can also just like pick and choose. They don't necessarily need to go in chronological order.
Fair.
But cool. Should we do Ryan's recommendations?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So Ryan's first recommendation is the entire Alien franchise,
And he's right.
which is fair.
We saw Alien Romulus this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
Perfect.
So
Love that.
good.
I watched the first 3 Alien movies when I was a child, so I have
Oh,
trauma.
yeah.
We've got to be a little more patient with Tio about watching those, but now that I know more about them and like what they did for like the community, I'm
Yeah,
like, cool,
yeah.
cool, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I might go back and read those, watch those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then one of the other recommendations is The Raven Cycle by Maggie
Maggie Stiefvater,
Stiefvater.
I think.
Okay.
Incredible books.
Do you know how many?
I believe the first trilogy is 3. So there's 3 in the first set. They're so good. The Raven Boys is the first one. The Dream Thieves is the second, and Blue Lily is the third. And there's 4. And the Raven King is the 4th.
Okay.
And then there's a second series that starts with Call Down the Hawk, which is the only one I've read. And I don't know what the other ones are. Anyway, it's really cool. It's like mythos, Yeah, super good. I think it's technically YA fantasy, but it's like low fantasy. It exists in our universe, and
Oh, okay.
it's done so well, and the narrator is so good.
Oh, I love that. And our most surprised recommendation from Ryan is Glee.
In the year 2024, Ryan says, "Can I recommend Glee?" And we thought he was joking. But then he actually put it in his recommendation list. So, Ryan, I love you. What?
Yep.
And he's not here to defend himself. So we
So,
just get to say, what?
Yeah, we get to judge Ryan as hard as much we want to. So here's the judgment, Ryan.
And also, I'm making hearts at you, but you can't see me because this is a podcast.
Okay. Well, that is our first rendition of the Disorderly Detours. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
For listening to us get off topic.
Yay. See you next time.
Woo.
Woo.
Woo. Okay. Cool.
Okay, see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. See you next time. See you next time.
Come on.
This podcast was brought to you in part by KCUN.
Yeah, we could say that.
Please tell me you recorded that.
89.3 FM, KCUN.
Perfect.